Hello everyone and welcome to Gray's Kitchen. Today we're going to be working on something just a little bit outside of my comfort zone. We're going to be making pie crust from scratch so that I can make our favorite chocolate pie. There's just something about the temperature getting a little bit colder outside that just really makes me crave being in the kitchen and baking up something special. I believe that this is only my either second or third time ever making pie crust. So I'm definitely not an expert, but I really do enjoy just being in the kitchen, learning a new skill, and just seeing how it goes. One of my friends was the one to show me this pie crust recipe, and thankfully it was the easiest thing I have ever done. Usually, pie crust can be a little bit daunting of a task and always sounds so difficult, but this recipe truly made it so simple. And thankfully, the recipe was just on the back of the Tenderflake box, so I definitely do recommend using that recipe. Yes, it does look like a lot of Tenderflake went in that. In fact, it was the whole stick of it, but thankfully, this isn't just for the one pie. This, in fact, made 6 pie crusts, so you're going to have leftovers for sure. So now that all of our dry ingredients are mixed together, we're just going to go ahead and mix up the wet mixture to go on top. So the wet mixture was 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of vinegar, and the rest of the cup you're going to fill up with cold water. You're just going to pour that in, but you want to be careful because you're only going to use as much of the wet mixture as is needed to mix the dough together. So as you can see here, I'm adding a little bit more just to combine the dough together, but not make it too wet. I honestly had so much fun just mixing this together. There's just something about learning a new skill in the kitchen, especially one that just looks so impressive when it all comes together. Now, I'm not sure if you're supposed to actually go ahead and knead the dough, but as you can see right there, I just added a little bit more of the liquid just to make sure that the all of the dough was well incorporated, but I didn't need it very much just to make sure that it all went into the one big ball. And then you're going to see that this does in fact make 6 pie crusts, so you're just going to cut it all into even pieces, roll it out into balls, and then you're going to get ready and use your 1 pie crust for this recipe, and you can save the rest for later. I was getting just a little bit too excited to hop on to the next step. So as you can see here, my dough was sticking for sure. Sticking on the parchment, sticking on the roller, everything. Completely forgot to put flour down. So I am just going ahead, adding the flour back, and then giving it another go. Here, I'm just trying my very best to roll it out in an even circle. I believe the pie pan that I'm using here is a 9-inch. Could be 8, but I think it's 9. So I'm just trying my best to roll this out in an even circle as possible. Like I said before, I'm definitely not an expert, definitely don't have a lot of experience, but if you just go slow and try your best, it will work out just fine. Now, my original plan for today's baking session was to make 2 pies. As you probably know if you've watched any of my previous videos, my husband and I went apple picking not that long ago, and we have an abundance of apples. So the goal here today, well, the original goal was to make 2 pies, this chocolate pie, which is our favorite, and an apple pie. Unfortunately, I realized that I only have the 1 pie pan. Crazy, I know. So I'm gonna have to do the apple pie at a later date once my pie pan is empty. That's okay, more pie for later. Now I'm just poking a few holes in our pie crust to make sure the steam can escape when baking. If you're new to pie making and you have no idea what I just put in my pie, I don't own pie weights because I don't make that much pie. So I read that you can fill your pie with dried beans. These are chickpeas, but it's the same idea. So you're going to fill your pie with the beans or chickpeas or pie weights, and it will prevent your pie from bubbling up, I believe, just because we're baking this pie crust, just the pie crust alone, instead of with a filling inside of it. One thing that I really do like about this recipe is the fact that it makes so much pie crust. Now, you probably don't need this much pie crust on a regular basis, but thankfully, you can either choose to put the pie crust in the fridge if you're going to use it relatively quickly, or you can actually put this in the freezer to use it at a later date. Now, we may be cheating a little bit with the boxed pie filling, but trust me, if you ever make this recipe, you will understand why. It is just so delicious. Our oven timer went off for the pie crust, so I'm just here checking to see if the pie crust is completely done. I do end up putting it back in for a couple of minutes just to make sure that it's nice and golden brown. Now that our pie crust is cool, I'm just going to go ahead and add in our super easy chocolate pie filling and just make sure to get all of that goodness out of the bowl. And you're going to want to spread it out evenly so each piece has the same amount of filling. Because this is a no-bake pie filling, we now just cover it with saran wrap and we're going to put it in the fridge for 3 to 4 hours until it is cool. Next up on our list is our whipped cream topping. So this whipped cream is simply some heavy whipping cream, sugar, and some vanilla extract. I just went ahead and used a cup of heavy whipping cream, and in this house we measure vanilla with our heart, so feel free to use as much as you would like. And following that, we're just going to use a couple of spoonfuls of sugar. Now we're just going to use our electric mixer and whisk this up until we have stiff peaks and it is easily spreadable onto the pie. When adding the whipped cream to the top of the pie, you can be as light-handed or as generous as you would like. This step is completely up to your personal preference. I just went ahead and added a few spoonfuls of the whipped cream to the top of the pie, spread it evenly around, and then we're going to top it with a light sprinkle of cocoa powder. At this point, I think it's safe to say that I am completely impressed with this recipe. The pie crust turned out beautiful. The boxed mix, of course, was perfect, and whipping cream is always an easy thing to add to the top, and it looks so impressive when it is all done and put together. I absolutely love spending any amount of time in my kitchen, whether it's making recipes that I've made 100 times or trying something new just for fun. And I wanted to say just thank you so much for spending this time in the kitchen with me. It has been such a joy. If you like videos like this, please consider subscribing. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!